sales conversation, let alone make the sale, you have to generate leads. And as much as there's so much talk these days about making the sale, you need to know how to generate the leads. And that's why today I wanted to bring Jean on here. Jean Kuhn is a business coach extraordinaire, and she has an event coming up. But even before we talk about that, Jean, thank you for joining me here on this broadcast. I want to talk to you about speaking. I've learned so much myself over the years about speaking, what you need to incorporate and looking at outcomes and whatnot. Um, is speaking for every business owner? Or there, does it kind of like, well, if you do this, it's not necessary, really. I mean,
Well, first, thank you for having me here today. And to answer your question, yes, speaking is for every business owner. If you listen, businesses are only in business for one reason. Do you know what it is?
to make money.
To solve the problem that their ideal clients have, right?
Mhm.
So if you know the problem that your ideal client has, they need to know that you have the solution. So yes, speaking is for every business owner.
Okay, so then let's talk about like the levels of speaking opportunities. Now, just before we went live here, you were talking about the stage, but even before somebody's on
Oh,
a stage, there's a lot of smaller areas I think that people forget about that. Yeah, you're still a speaker at these events. Talk about that a little bit.
I will. And Christine, it's because I think of listen, if I'm in a restaurant, right, and we're having a lunch at a networking event and I'm at the front of the room, that's a stage, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Anytime you get in front of eight, three people, let's say three people, it has to be three people at minimum. Anytime you can get in front of three people or more and explain to them that you understand the problem that they have and talk a little bit about giving them value about the solution that you can provide to that without sounding salesy, right? All we want to do is there's a couple things, right? We want them to understand that we understand their problem and we have a solution for it. We do not want to come across as salesy. Like, Christine, I see that you have sunflowers in the back and it is March, right? Maybe you might want to have lilies there. I don't know what it would be, right? But it's like, here's the problem. You've got sunflowers and it's really spring. Tulips, right? That would be it. So I wouldn't say to you, get rid of the sunflowers and bring in tulips, but I might point out the value of having tulips showing there, right? Whatever their problem is. You don't have a problem. I know sunflowers are your thing. So, but my point is you have to explain the problem. You have to show them the value and give them some actual tips. So many people are afraid they're going to give away too much information and they hold back the goodness so their ideal clients never know they can solve the problem.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. As long as you're in front of like three people in a restaurant, anywhere out on
Yeah.
the street, you're speaking. So
Yes.
that stage is anywhere.
Right.
It's small groups, big stages. It's like you say, if you happen to meet, a small group of people and you start talking to them, yes, you're on that stage. And I like how you describe about, seeing if you have a solution to a problem that they do have. Um, which oh, some people think that just because they're knowledgeable about their subject and they talk about it, that they're a speaker.
Oh my goodness, right?
Um,
Yeah, and you know what who the only people they're really impressing when they do that? Themselves, right? Because the I yesterday I went to a networking event and there was a speaker there and she was full of good information. But you know what she wasn't good at? She had no stage presence. She never once cracked any sort of humor, showed us any sort of humor with what she was talking about in leadership because
mm,
and it was very apparent to me that she was a new speaker, which is fine. We all start somewhere. I was a sucky speaker when I started, right? I absolutely sucked. And listen, I am not a great speaker, but I'm a damn good speaker, right? Which means I can hit all of the marks that people need to hear. I can talk about I can talk about the value I give them. I can share funny stories with them on how I've solved that problem for somebody else. I have a lot of I have a lot, and listen, I'm not counting ahs and ums. Are you? Do you count ahs and ums when you speak?
No,
Thank
no,
God, right?
no,
Thank
mm-mm.
God. But it's about going out there and speaking from your authentic voice, right? And your authentic voice where you know what you can do for people and they want that solution. That's the
Mhm.
only reason they're there, and the speaker makes it all about them and their professionalism and all of the things that they do, and gives us their credentials with their BS and MS, and I mean bachelor's of science degree, right? Their master's degree or their bachelor's degree or their doctoral degree, and nobody cares, right? Nobody
Mhm.
cares. All they care about is, do I understand that you have a problem? No tulips. Do I know where to get tulips or show you what color tulips should be there? No, I don't, because that's not my thing. That's not what I talk about. But if it was, I would know those answers, right?
Yeah.
So how can you just have to I hate to keep repeating myself, but you have to make it all about the audience and you have to be entertaining. And I learned that in the 1990s from Zig Ziglar, who said he puts a joke into his or some sort of funny uh, uh, story or something every 7 to 9 minutes
Mm,
because the humor is what keeps the audience engaged.
mm. Very interesting. Yes, and I'm learning that myself of well, between personal stories and, the humor, it really does make a difference. And what I've also learned is that to really be in touch with what do you want the listener to do next versus um I've sat through numerous talks from people that they just leave people feeling wonderful. Oh, okay. Now what? And oops, I said, and
I didn't even hear it. I never even heard that.
and I right now I'm in the mode of, okay, so what do you want the audience to do next, besides feel good? It's like your information might be great at the moment, but unless they carry it forward
Mhm.
or continue the discussion with you, what good was that time in front of them?
Well, and that's how I felt yesterday because the woman who was the speaker is an insurance aide. She has her own office and her own business there. And she was speaking not about insurance. She was speaking about leadership because that's something that I think she's actually trying to be a business coach and is trying to get in there out there, which is what the talk seemed like. But you're right. She never gave us the next step. The next step is to have a conversation with her or to download her freebie or to buy something that she might be selling that answered the problem. But you want to know something funny? She never asked a question to answer the problem or to show me that where my problem was in leadership. Not that I have one, but she
Mhm.
never asked me what my problem was in leadership so that she could answer that question. There was
Mhm.
no next steps for her from her.
Wow. Wow. And I don't wanna give everything away to our audience, not that they can take this podcast and say, "Okay, now I can figure it out for myself," but
Right.
touch a little bit on selling from the stage and what that really means. Whether you can sell from the stage, whether you can't, but how you can always benefit from any speaking opportunity.
Well, number one is the best way to sell from the stage, I guess, is to have something for free, right? If you had an hour in front of somebody, in front of a group, you might be able to sell a $500,000 program. Maybe if you were a really, really good speaker, right? You might be able to sell that. But honestly, you and I've talked about this before, I think that you should always have something for free for them and get them into a conversation because if I can speak to a group of 20, right? I know that I should be able to close between 50 and $90,000. Who in their right mind, Christine, would
Mhm.
pay me 50 or $90,000 to speak to their group? I wouldn't pay me $90,000 to
Mhm.
speak to the group. I wish somebody would. Let me just say that. I wish somebody would. But I know that if I speak for free and I give value and I show people how I can help them, that the money always comes.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, it's not saying you're going directly into a sales pitch from that
Right.
talk. You're going to the
Exactly.
conversation. And
Right.
that's where people have that disconnect, especially when they're invited to maybe speak to small groups and whatnot. It's like, we just want it educational. You can't sell anything. It's like people are like, well, okay, well, then I'll just educate them. No, you're missing the boat if you're not encouraging people to continue the conversation.
Yeah, well, and one of the ways I do that is I offer something that they need, right? I know what my I'm so clear on what my ideal clients need that I've created lead generators when I'm out speaking that I give away,
Mhm,
right? And all they have to do is tell me that they want them, right? And there's a
mhm,
lot of different ways for them to tell me that, but no, but I never ask for permission when I speak for free if I can give something away. And actually, that is my version of selling from the stage because I give away something of tremendous value that comes back into the form of a conversation, which then leads to whether or not they might, whether or not I can help them, not even whether or not I can sell them, but do they really need my help?
mhm.
If that's the case, then I may make them an offer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've really given the listeners a lot to take away, but like I say, the next step are to really understand speaking and whatnot. So, Jean, so tell us about your event coming up called Influence. Now, audience, I want you to understand Jean is in the Chicago area. And she's having this great one-day event, and you're more than welcome to attend. I want you to talk about both the in-person and the
Okay.
virtual version of what you're gonna be delivering.
Well, I'm gonna tell you about the event, and then I'll tell you about the dates, right?
Mhm.
So, influence is listen, there are a lot of speakers out there, like the woman from yesterday, right? There are a lot of speakers out there, but they're not speaking to generate leads. They're speaking to give, and this was the model I had, Christine. I would go out, I would give a ton of value, and then I would hug them on the way out the door, right? So, I've learned how to finesse this, right? So influence is about speakers or people who want to be speakers in the business world. They need to what they need to know in order to create leads and not just hugs, right?
Oh,
So
I like that. Generate leads and not just hugs. Ooh, there's a
yeah.
tagline for you.
So we're going to be talking about first, we're going to be talking about your messaging, right? If you don't have a clear message that your ideal client can hear, and when I say that, it's not about what you say to your clients or it's not about what you say to the room in the auditorium or restaurant or wherever you're speaking. It's not what you say to them, it's what they hear. The messaging is for your ideal clients. So if there's 20 people in the room and only 5 of them are ideal clients, the message is for those 5. It's not for the other 15 who are sitting there. So you're creating that message that will land on your ideal client's ears. I had a client say that to me once after I explained this to her. She goes, "Oh, it's not what you say, it's what they hear." And that's exactly right,
Mhm.
right? So we're really going to get clear on our messages for our ideal clients. The next thing we're going to do is develop stories. I'm going to take them through an exercise on how they can develop their stories for their signature talk. So then we're going to go into creating an outline for their signature talk. It's only one day, but I'm jam packing this day full of content for them. So after they do their signature talk, I'm going to teach them 15 ways to get paid speaking, right? Not one, not two, not 15. Oh, I mean, it is 15, right? 15 ways that they can get paid from speaking. And we're going to talk about a lead generator. We're going to create a lead generator there. They may not finish it, but they will have all of the pieces there that they need. These people, when they come, are really working that day. They're not, if they're coming to listen to me ramble on for 9 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, they're missing the boat because they're actually doing the work
Mhm.
at the event so that they can take it back and implement it into their business. And then I'm going to talk about getting speaking gigs. Where do you go to find speaking opportunities? What do you say if you find a speaking opportunity? And I'm going to actually give them a script so that when they get a company or another business or a group of women on the phone that they need to find out if this is a good opportunity for them,
Mhm.
they know exactly what to say. So they're going to walk away with a script that I'm going to have them, they'll fill in a little bit of what they do, and then we'll have them uh, create their own script around my script. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I'm tired just listening to everything that you can be doing in one day.
I
Wow.
know. I know, it's a lot.
So tell us about the 2 opportunities.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, in the Chicago area, I'm doing this live and in person, which is my favorite way to speak, live and in person. March 24th, it's a Friday in Glen Ellen, Illinois. And then the following Monday, the 27th, I'm going to do this for people who are not in the Chicago area as a virtual event. So it's not my favorite way to do it, but I understand that other people need this information,
Mhm.
and it doesn't make sense for them to come to Chicago from San Jose for one day, right? It doesn't make
Pennsylvania.
sense. Yeah, be worth their while, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, 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 I wouldn't drive my 2 days to Chicago for a one-day event.
I get it, right? I know you wouldn't, but listen, come to the virtual event. You know, you
Mhm.
always have a ticket.
Yes. Well, gee, this has been great. I hope our listeners, our viewers have gotten a lot of value. If they haven't, then they weren't really listening. Do you have any last thoughts on speaking? Anything?
If you really wanna up-level your business and you wanna take it to the next level and you wanna add 6 figures or more to your bottom line, start speaking.
Yes, I can attest to the value of speaking,
Mm,
both live in person and online.
right,
It produces results.
right.
So, well, thanks a lot, Jean, for being here today. This has been a lot of fun having you here.
Well, thank you, Christine, for allowing me to come in and talk to your people and share, my passion for speaking, and honestly, Christine, if I hadn't started speaking, I still wouldn't be over $300 a month, but speaking
300
took me from
oh, you were at
up
300 when you started, and now
I
you're
was, and
mm,
I took it from 300 to 10,000 a month in 18 months, but I own 2 brick and mortars, so I'm gonna give myself a little take a little slack there, right? I also own 2 brick and mortars when I started that, but
yeah,
now it's multiple 6 figures, right? So,
mhm.
yeah,
Yep, it works.
it
Definitely
does.
works.